Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
It's always Monday. It's always Monday out there somewhere, right?
It's always Monday in PFF land. Well, good morning and welcome to the latest episode of the Project Failure Files, the series for anyone who manages people, projects, or processes for a living. I'm Sharon Weaver, CEO of Smarter Consulting.
And I am Christian Buckley, founder of Collab Talk, and welcome to another episode where Sharon and I explore management and leadership topics from the perspective of what not to do.
And today is the second of 5 episodes where we are focusing very specifically on topics that are related to AI technology within the enterprise and how it's impacting how we lead and how we manage people.
I think it's safe to say this, Sharon, if you agree or not, that AI is changing a lot of the fundamentals of the way that we manage people, processes, and our technology. We talk a lot about the technology aspects of that, but people and processes are also being impacted.
I 100% agree with that. And I also think we don't really fully understand yet what's going to happen in the future. This is such a new thing. We're still figuring it out. I mean, for example, maybe today we're tackling a mistake that feels innovative, but can turn really reckless fast. Maybe launching AI without guardrails.
Yeah.
Ultimately, freedom without structure definitely sounds empowering and fun and awesome and kind of cool because then I don't have to mess with the rules anymore. But in reality, and in this case, it can create serious risk.
We touched on it a bit in the last episode, but this is the governance discussion. This is where the parents are sitting you down, the teenager down. It really is a hot topic right now. There's AI tools everywhere. They're easy to access. They're easy to experiment with. There's just new things happening weekly. All the major platforms, they're constantly changing and evolving. It's incredibly powerful stuff that's out there. It's exciting as a technologist, just to get out there and play with this stuff and see what it can do. But this means that they're also really easy to misuse.
Yeah, exactly. Without clear guidance, people can and may and will and do paste sensitive data into all kinds of places, maybe build unofficial workflows, experiment outside approved systems. Shadow IT kind of becomes a bigger shadow IT. And a lot of times they're doing it with the absolute best intentions.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the data leakage traps, they show up. I think it's even more, that's why a lot of companies that were traditionally not security companies are wearing the security label because it's a big part of what they do for themselves and for their customers. But I mean, information surfaces in places that it shouldn't. Compliance then gets murky and leadership finds out about the risk usually after the damage is done. And when there is that shadow IT, that shadow AI, when employees move faster than the governance can, they don't stop innovating. They just do it quietly. So you can go in there and try and block a lot of it, but people will go and play with the new tools, the new toys.
Yeah. And on top of that, when they do that, it's a very clear sign that your official policies, procedures, processes, guidelines are either unclear, undefined, maybe too restrictive, or maybe just completely impractical. And that's the key. And we always say this in governance, right? It's the fine line between security and usability, right? It's that fine line, making sure that things are usable, but also managed. If they're written like theoretical rule books that slow everything down, people will just work around them.
I love the image of, people are like rocks and there's water running downhill, or people are like the water running downhill. That's it. Backwards. There we go. People are like water running downhill. You put a rock in front of them. You say, no, don't do this thing. If it means at the bottom of the hill is getting their work done, they will go right around you. So I think you'd agree that the goal isn't to suffocate innovation. We're not adding layers of bureaucracy for the purpose of bureaucracy. We're trying to enable safe exploration. The guardrails are about guiding behavior, like have at it, do whatever you want, but here are the guardrails with the bumpers up in the bowling lane. And that's, we're just trying to guide that behavior, not create fear.
Yeah. Well, and another thing to think about is right now, governance is not just about usability. It's also about adoption. And oftentimes during the adoption phase, we are a little more liberal and a little more open-minded because we want people to be excited about it. We want them to use it. We want to let them, have some really great interactions with it, before we lock it down forever. No. But ultimately, I think organizations that get this right from the beginning, they find that nice balance where they can protect data, maintain trust, but still move quickly. Otherwise, you're gonna basically have an opportunity to clean up a lot of preventable messes.
I got some great personal experiences and backgrounds. I know you do too as well. It just kind of goes back to organizations that are good at change. And however you want to describe that, AI is a major change. But as always, should be a great conversation. So please, if you're following us along for the first time, you're watching this episode, follow us out on YouTube. You can also subscribe to the newsletter out on Substack, substack.projectfailurefiles.com, or YouTube at Project Failure Files. You can find us. Please share your experiences, your feedback down in the comment section, especially if you've seen AI experimentation either accelerate progress or expose risk in your organization. We do like the negative stories, but it's always good when there's and here's what I learned. It might be that I learned I needed to go find another job. It could be. But we love those stories.
And with that, let's get started with some definitions.
Yeah. So, this is the thing. I'll tell you, I'll start with an experience. So I was working for consulting for one of the ISVs in the Microsoft ecosystem that was big on security and governance. So a German company called Rencor. Good friends, great product. And what was great was this was 3 years ago. So with the Copilot launch and going to a show, we thought it would be a little bit quieter, but we were hopeful. And it was nonstop packed lines at the booth and people asking questions about governance. There seems to be something a little bit different with this AI push where, and maybe it's in our ecosystem that we work in, Sharon, but it just seems like there's been a bit of maturity in the IT sector overall, where companies are recognizing the governance risks. Not that they're taking the right steps to clean and fix the problems, but they're recognizing we need to do something. And they're experimenting, kind of the definitions here. They're experimenting with AI. They're trying different things. And they realize they're asking questions at least around okay, what are the constraints? How do I sandbox this? What can I do to do this in a safe way? And asking those questions. End user just running out there, learning about these things, exploring the new technology as they do. But companies were much more thoughtful. And this is my 35 years of IT experience. It just seemed that people were much more proactive in asking, how do I do this safely? How do I remain compliant? How do I stay secure? All of those kinds of questions. Do you see it differently, or is that your experience?
I think it depends on the maturity of the organization. So, generically, I would say, the bulk of organizations are landing, squarely in kind of a 200 to 300 maturity level. And I think the ones that have been trying for a while to kind of up their maturity level are definitely in that zone of, we've spent a lot of time, energy, money, getting more mature. The last thing we want to do is bring in a technology that's going to wreck all of the work that we've put into that. And we really want to layer it in properly. We're going to add it into our stack the same way we always had. We're going to treat it the same way we've always treated change management and adoption. And I think those companies are seeing a lot of value with it. I think the ones that are struggling, and we talk about, launching it without guardrails are, and this isn't, a lot of people are like, well, we're not a big company, we're not a small company. This isn't about size of
Doesn't matter.
organization.
Yeah.
We're talking about maturity level. And I think organizations that have a lower maturity level, so I think a 1 to 200 maturity level, where they haven't quite figured out that they need to manage things, those are the ones that, because they're so open to a lot of things, they've been a lot more open to this. And they're like, well, let's just go ahead and bring it all in and turn it all on and see what happens, with no guardrails in place. And I think if you are a fairly small organization, you can get away with the lower maturity model because your risk is less, there's less people, things like that that you have to manage. But a larger organization with a lower maturity level that turns this on without guardrails is asking for problems.
Yeah. There's this idea I know in a lot of organizations, kind of add on to that, this idea that giving people access to powerful tools without a playbook or a bunch of rules, like go and explore, that somehow that's empowering. It's not. It's abandonment, dressed up as trust. You need to be very careful with that. As I mean, the other thing here, because I love the visual of guardrails around for governance. The bumpers in the bowling lane is another great image there. But innovation and governance, they're not enemies. They're not separate things. They're dance partners, if anything. One has the energy, the innovation, like let's go and create. The other keeps you from falling off the stage. You need both of those things, the energy and the stability, and hey, we're going to fall down and break our knee.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've always been a proponent of governance, and I've always been a proponent of the idea that good governance creates more opportunity for innovation because you already have everything under control. And, it's this idea of if everything's on fire all the time, you can't ever think about anything new, right? If you're always in a survival mode, you can't be thriving. But if you're already surviving and sustainable, thriving is a lot easier. And so all that guardrails and governance do from a definition perspective, they set us up for success so that we are already sustainable. And now we can add things on that are going to make us faster, better, easier, things like that. So, I think, once you already understand what that is and you have it implemented, I mean, it's going to make it easier for you to innovate.
Yeah. I was thinking, so again, some of the research I've done around these AI topics, IBM, all these companies that did these massive AI studies this last year, have been looking at the major consulting firms, the analyst firms. IBM did their 2025 cost of a data breach report, which is fascinating data. If you've not read similar breach reports around that, if you are a small to mid-sized company, the cost of a breach is exponentially higher. But with that point, it says that the breach report found that 63% of breached organizations had no AI governance policies at all, nothing. And shadow AI incidents added an average of $670,000 to the cost of a breach. It made it worse. That's not a hypothetical risk. That's a line item. That's a major factor.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially, yeah. I mean, not having it is literally expensive.
It is. I've heard that somewhere. Yeah. I think I read that. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, thinking of other kind of cultural impacts from that. I mean, it's again, no leader is excited about governance except those that understand it, usually because they've been through the downside of not having governance. They've been burned. And so, and I think my experience, Sharon, is across the board. When you have executives, leaders that are governance minded, it's because of their history. They've had the experience. What you don't find are people that have never been burned, never been through it, and focused on governance. Just doesn't exist out there.
No, I definitely believe experience, right? Having experience leads you to be more wary of things and put things in place to limit your risk. And governance essentially limits your risk. So you're setting yourself up for more success as you go forward. And I would say it's, it's a mix of those with experience will often implement governance, better, faster, and they'll be more excited about it. But also sometimes there's just people who are a little bit more reckless and they're more interested in what they can get quickly than they are about kind of that long-term investment. But ultimately, I think from a project and a cultural perspective, when you do put guardrails around anything, but now specifically AI, you create opportunities to be able to manage it better. And when you don't, you are setting yourself up, exactly like you just said, for risk, and not just financial risk, but security compliance risks, management risks, personnel risks, collaboration risks, culture risks. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't have those guardrails in place, like, you have just risks all over the place.
Right. No, it's funny too that it's a you think of leaders that are, again, don't focus on those guardrails and putting those things in place. You're going to have other people lower down or line managers or something that are going to have that focus. There's going to create conflicts between different organizations. I mean, it's going to cause some confusion, like, what can I do? What can't I do here? And that will then create, these fear-driven behaviors, especially if you, like, the big mistake is lock it all down, turn off all the features. And I go back to, like, a great example of this is so many companies that do this, and it's a huge mistake. And I think it's a great parallel here, is that they will turn off external sharing and lock it down. Yep. It's like, well, most people at some point need to share and interact with people outside of the organization. It causes problems immediately around that. So to solve these kinds of problems is not to slap people's hands and say no. It's to have a conversation about, what do we actually need to do? What are the guardrails here? What do we need to be mindful of? What can I go and do and explore? And people then will innovate within that space.
Yeah, no, it's definitely this idea of, obviously, as a manager, if I don't ever let you do anything or go anywhere or see sunlight or go outside, you will always just do everything you're supposed to do. And it's a fallacy, right? It's, everybody thinks that, if we just lock everything down, it'll solve the problems, and it absolutely won't. It just creates more issues, creates more shadow IT, more, now we've got shadow AI, right? Because, I 100% I'm going to go pop something else up. If I can't get what I need here, I'm going to go over here and buy it myself and just use it. And it's so funny because I train on AI all day long, and they get on the calls, like, Christian, we get on these training calls, and I'm like, okay, so I want to talk about the risk of putting your sensitive data into other AI tools. And all of a sudden you see,
yeah.
And then, I have a question, Ms. Sharon. Yes. What happens if I've already put my information into 4 other tools, hypothetically?
Yeah. I just described it to somebody. I was like, it didn't feel like people were understanding, like, the risks. I said, think about it this way. It's like, if I opened up an email and I was going to send it to 10 different people outside of our company, and I put all of our company's financials into that and sent it to them, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? That'd be a bad thing. Like, all right. So,
but you don't understand, Christian. If I put my company's financial in that, it's going to do my work for me.
All right. That's going to completely automate. No, I know everything around that. Well, I mean, look, what are the pitfalls of not having governance around AI, not having guardrails there?
Other than sending your personal and company financial information out to all of your
that would be an unwise employee. I think there's a different problem afoot.
Well, I mean, truthfully, that is one of the big issues, right? Is that you have unintentional data leaks. Yeah. And like you just said, right? If you don't understand what your tools are that you're using and who has access to them and where that data is going, where that data is being managed, and your organization has not put things in place to be able to govern and manage that, who knows where your data is going? Who knows what data you've got going out, and who knows who has access to it? You end up having this unintentional major risk of leaking information out in ways that you probably never even thought about.
I think it too is that, if you don't have policies in place and, you're sitting in a meeting and you're a manager and a bunch of your direct reports see, or you talk about the fact that you used ChatGPT or that you used, one of these other public AI platforms and did something really cool, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go and follow those exact same steps. Even if you have technology that you've rolled out, if you don't roll out that AI technology with guidance around it, best practices, like here's how we use these tools in this way. Do this, do not do this. And you can have a high trust organization and still have data breaches. And so you just have to be careful that you have it documented, that people are trained on that, be consistent with the standards around that. Here's how we use it. And, and then I love the whole thing. Makes me think of kind of keeping innovation and like repeating, innovative practices. I used to love running a couple companies that I've managed teams where I would do like the lunchtime brown bag, come share, people would sign up for it. Come share something that you're working on, you're proud of, or that you've innovated on, even if you're not done, come show your work. And people started signing up for it. And they realized that, hey, I'm halfway through this thing. I'm a little bit stuck, but here's the general idea. Get in there. They would show how they're improving a process, building a tool to automate something. And they start getting this all other feedback that they didn't have before. Somebody said, hey, I built something similar. I got stuck on this thing too. Here's how I solved it. Mm-hmm. And they, we innovate collaboratively so much better. And so it becomes, that innovation becomes part of the culture of the organization. We talk things through. We're not hiding in the shadows about the things that we're using. And so then if I'm like, hey, Sharon, I came across this really cool AI tool. I've started to use it. I think we could use it for this business process. And you're like, yeah, what are the rules on how that, are you aware? Like, that's cool. Again, out of the shadows. And I can see that, but be careful with this. Don't use this proprietary information, because a real quick scan of their TOCs. I love training classes, Sharon. I don't know if you do the same thing, on going and looking at, for example, class that I just did this last week, workshop. I said, let's go look at the terms of use for OpenAI, for ChatGPT. Let's go read through. Let's look for certain things, and showed them, that where it's wide open, why you have to be careful with corporate data.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately what you're really saying is, if we're not doing the right thing, then we end up being reactive instead of proactive. That's right. What really ends up happening, right? All of these things are happening because we're reacting to a situation, reacting to what's new, we're reacting to what's out there. And if we're not taking the time to become proactive and manage that proactivity, then the entire organization starts continuing down that reactive path. And ultimately, we roll this out and everybody's just reacting as things happen.
Yeah. I've watched somebody paste an entire client contract into a free AI tool to quickly summarize the key terms. I mean, again, there's no malice. There's no awareness of that. Just someone trying to be efficient with a tool that had no guardrails around it. And it's one of the reasons why, again, I know we're not pitching any specific products or anything here, but one of the reasons for enterprise collaboration, again, know the difference between the free public tools and the enterprise ready solutions. We use Copilot for that reason. So it's never training the model outside. So do I still use, half a dozen other tools? Yeah, every day. But when I'm doing things that are work related that are specific, it's only inside of the Copilot experience because it has those guardrails.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, with all of this, I know strategies for getting past this. So it's like, so here we are. We've got all of this data. We've got all these, people that are excited about trying out these new AI tools. We've got things that are in various stages of automation. What are some strategies for organizations to get started? I mean, I say like the right time to plant a tree is today or yesterday, 50 years ago, of course. But if you've not planted, what the reality is right now, go get it started. When's the best time to start saving in a bank account? Like right now, start.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like we've been talking about, I think from a strategy perspective, if you just stop being reactive and start focus on things that are proactive in nature, identify what your processes are, identify what your data is, identify what your decision-making processes are, decide what you're going to allow and what you're not going to allow, educate yourself and your leaders on what is out there, and then put policies around that so that what do we have? What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? Train people on that, provide them with how-to guides and job aids on that, and then create some sort of a way to audit and manage it, so that if anything does happen, a lot like any other risk policy, you have a way to control it, manage it, and potentially react to it.
I think that you use the word control. I was about to say something too. That's like it's true. I'd say like oversight versus control of it. But I said, if you start with the assumption that experimentation is already happening, because it is, statistically, it's just happening. Your job isn't to discover it and punish people.
Right.
Your job is to surface it and channel it somewhere safe. So by redirecting people down that bowling aisle, the bowling lane with the side rails up.
And just to clarify, not to manage and control the people, to manage and control the risk.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, so another problem there is if your AI policy reads like a legal filing, then you've already failed. The best guardrails are written in plain language. It's something that people then understand. They're built around real scenarios, for one. And they're short enough that someone will actually read through them before lunch, but something that you can review on a regular basis. Another strategy for this too is giving people a sandbox, giving them guardrails on what they can and can't do. Again, if you train them so much, like I think about this every time it's like, I want to go and use something. It's like, where am I? What environment am I in? I want to go try something. And I will anonymize a piece of data. I will remove that or not, really not use work data in these test scenarios. I'm using real work scenarios, but not with real work client customer data in those tools. To some degree, there's just a certain amount of self-awareness of what I'm doing, what I'm about to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, back to your, create policies that people will follow. It's also allowing people to do the right thing. And so people will do what they see, right? People are going to do what their friends are doing. People do what their manager does. So if you make whatever it is you want to happen part of your culture and you have people do it, your leaders doing it will have other people following by their example. If you have, the people who other people look to for influence doing it, other people will do it by example. So part of your policy is having a policy, but part of your policy is also getting the people in your organization that are influencing other people to do it so that other people will see it and they will do it as well.
The way that I train this is saying that there's a community management component to all of this. It's part of adoption. It's call the person an evangelist, a community manager, whatever it is. It's somebody whose job is to watch for this and watch for these examples, people out there in the wild, and redirect them, encouraging the right behavior. So like building the people up for doing the right things, recognizing them for that, and rather than slap their hand, but redirect them around the dangerous activities. And I mean, this is, as you know, from, we've both organized community events, in-person, hybrid, and virtual events. And you look at the ones that are most successful, tend to be those where there are multiple peoples, the volunteers, that are making sure everything is running smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what that role is. These are the volunteers that are making sure that, did you find your way to the next session? Do you have questions about this? Are you having any difficulties that I can help you with? Or do you need me to go and grab somebody for the facilities for some reason? Somebody's thrown up on some data somewhere. I'm hearkening back to the last episode, folks. Yeah. But yeah, I love this idea of framing governance as empowerment. So one, it's again, like, here are the guardrails, have at it. It is empowerment, but within these constraints. And here's why: so that we don't get sued, so that we don't have a data breach, so we stay in business. Although the legal reasons and technical reasons for that, everything else in between, have at it. And encourage people to go out there and experiment. That's a big part of it. If people are too beat down and discouraged, they're not going to experiment.
Yeah, I think, more mature organizations, do the fail fast method, which is, make sure you have rules, make sure you have boundaries, and then just go try, right? Go do it. And I think the organizations that are already doing that do this are going to move faster, are going to get more out of it. They're going to see the value in the tool better because they've already got all that stuff in place. All they're doing is implementing another change in their organization. Yeah. And hopefully they've already got this in place. But I do think that one of the big things is when you allow your people to do things and to be successful, celebrate that, right? Yeah. Celebrate the wins in some way, whether that's a hackathon with awards or a ceremony of some sort that gives them some sort of, an award for doing it, or maybe you're going to mention them in the newsletter or on the intranet homepage. Make sure that you're celebrating that they're doing things, but celebrate the ones that are doing it the right way.
Right. I mean, look, there's a lot of other practical best practices for this scenario. It's recognizing people. I mean, that is a huge piece of this. Having regular AI literacy training as an ongoing, so self-paced as well as regular classes, making it required that people go through that. Having escalation paths, that would be a brilliant thing. And that should be, I would say, at the very least in the employee handbook. What is the escalation path if I think I've just overshared something out through an AI tool? To be aware from a risk management standpoint, potentially a legal standpoint.
Self-report options.
Right. But a big part of that is, like, do you have established some kind of AI governance committee that's talking about, here's what we're doing. Is this working? Do we need to do more? Or do we need to do less? Do we need to step back that our people are doing well? We've not had a breach in days, weeks,
hours. Well, and think about it. If you have an AI governance committee, I would like to believe that means you have, whether them or somebody else, researching what the new options are. The last thing that you want to do as an organization is depend on your users, your everyday people, to be out there researching options, and you have no idea what the options are. If you have an AI governance committee, theoretically, they at least have some idea of some of the new stuff that's happening.
Well, and there's a whole nother discussion of like the R&D, like what's the right way to, if you don't have a formal team that owns that activity, a lot of R&D is being done through your product team or regular employees that are providing feedback. Mm-hmm. But if without the committee, then what are you doing with that? As you find out that information to make sure that it's being done the right way. And it goes back to, there are right and wrong ways to run a pilot, for example. Yeah. So and part of this too is to run periodic AI usage audits to be aware of what people are doing. Again, you're not trying to come down on people for experimenting with becoming innovative in their roles. You want that level of creativity, but you just need to impress upon everybody, the guardrails.
Yep.
So thinking about calls to action, what can people go and do?
I mean, I think the first step is admitting that there is a problem. Oh, wait, wrong call. Okay. So,
12-step process, yes.
truthfully, I mean, understand that you are already using AI. And for anybody out there who's like, no, I'm not letting my people do that, we're just going to shut it all down, I promise you, somebody's using it. In fact, it's kind of interesting to me. I was doing training in one of my classes. They were just like, well, we're just not going to use it. And I'm like, well, if you are not using it, I promise you, you will have plenty of shadow people in your organization that will use it. So, I mean, I think the first real call to action is admit that you are going to use it in your organization. You are going to have users that are going to use it. So find out what's going on, who's using it, and how they're using it already.
So I also had a class where they were, the client was kind of anti-AI. What's funny, Sharon, is that most of the questions that I had over the 8 workshops, all AI related questions, because people are actually doing that. It's just, I mean, this is why one of the things that you can go and do, call to action, is ask your team an honest question. Where are you already using AI that maybe we don't know about? You need to make it safe to answer that question. And the healthier organizations that people feel safe to be able to say, well, I've been experimenting with this, trying this. What they tell you is your governance roadmap.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking, is as you find out what they're using, as you see what's out there, as you understand how that's going to help your organization, use that to start writing governance around it. That way you don't have to wait, and you're not trying to take the whole thing at once. You can do it a little bit at a time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if your governance policies require a law degree to decipher, then you failed on this. Those aren't guardrails; those are legal decoration. You need something that's actionable there. But yeah, that's why I mean, the best advice I have, I've run these before, but is creating that governance committee and having those discussions there. They can get very efficient. They're longer up front as you're getting used to each other and establishing your processes. But once you have that in place and it's visible to everybody of how that team runs and how it works, and it works for them, you're going to have people coming to you and say, hey, I've got this scenario, or I've got this situation, and more of those exceptions get managed.
Exactly.
Well, with that, Sharon, we'll close out this episode. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining this week's episode. If you're brand new to the Project Failure Files, we have new episodes every Monday morning. We've got the blog that goes live every Tuesday. And then I've been doing, Sharon's still waiting for Sharon, but I've been adding to the Substack. It's the Substack now. So where Sharon and I, right now me, Sharon later will eventually, but we'll share our thoughts on each of the weekly topics. Just kind of a personal view. It might be a couple paragraphs one week and a long article the next. But we'd love to have you subscribe to that, and you can just go out to projectfailurefiles.substack.com. You can find us. But if you just search out on the interwebs, you'll find us all over the place. But follow us out on YouTube at projectfailurefiles.com as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching.
See you next time.
See you next time.